Alright, I think it's about time we tackle the resting grounds. If you're new to this place or new to this channel, I'm Facade. I'm doing a ranking every single floating platform in the game of Hollow Knight, and we're going to be doing the resting grounds today. And that might not seem like a whole lot, but resting grounds is actually a very important area. If you've ever played the game, you'll know that this is the area where you get the dream nail. I guess just for observation's sake, if you can see this little green outline right here, this is how big this map is in comparison to what I can currently see on Krita. But essentially, yeah, you get the dream nail here, you have access to the Grey Mourner, Zamir, and a couple of other things like the Spirit's Glade, so on and so forth. But today is going to be the day that we rank every single individual floating platform in this area. Now, just going over the rules yet again, in case you are new to the place. What counts as a floating individual platform are these rules that you see now. They have to be one walkable surface, they cannot be connected to the ceiling, floor, or walls, and they obviously have to be floating, obviously. So just kind of as a brief example, we'll kind of zoom in here. Something kind of like this. This thing right here, this platform where Xero is located. This is a floating platform. It has only one walkable surface. It is not connected to the walls or the ceiling or the floor. This is a good platform, and so this would count in our rankings. However, something like right underneath it, something kind of like this, where this is connected to the wall, has a little walkable surface there and another walkable surface here. Because there are two individual walking spots, that will not count. And so I'm going to be ranking all of these today in the resting grounds. So let's might as well go ahead and start with where we usually start off with, the entrance to the Blue Lake. For the most part, most people will probably enter this area via other means. They might enter through City of Tears, so on and so forth, but I'm going to be starting here specifically because this is the speedrun route. You enter through this way from the dirt, not from the dirt. You enter through this way from Crossroads. I don't know why I blinked so hard on that, but you usually enter this way through Crossroads using a shade skip, whether it's clawless or normal skip. Here's the thing. In a speedrun, you enter in through this way, and the goal is to get across this entire lake as fast as possible. So the whole time you are just jumping out of the water and then dashing to fall back into the water, to jump back out of the water, to dash, so on and so forth, unless you use the wall cling storage, I think, and you dash around way faster. But I don't do that, nor do I really want to learn how, quite frankly. But anyways, our first floating platform is actually going to be this small little sequence over here. Now, this sequence is a little bit interesting because your reward for doing this sequence is a rancid egg. And it's kind of a lame reward, I'll be fair. You can either sell it to Tuck, or have Confessor Gigi eat it and reclaim your shade, or sell it to Steel Soul Jin. But honestly, this is kind of a lame reward. So the fact that these things are here in the first place probably will, their score will lessen quite a bit. So here's what I'll do. This first platform, obviously, it's a nice platform. It does actually introduce you to the world of there's something here. So if anything, I actually want to give this one a 6.5 because it introduces you to, because you're flying in from this direction. You are flying in from here to there, and you think there's something here. Let's figure out what it is. And then you get over here, and then you realize it's a rancid egg. It's not that important. So really, as much as, adventure could have been had, I will simply say that these platforms get a 4. There's really not a whole lot going on here. And honestly, if these platforms weren't here in the first place, and this rancid egg wasn't here in the first place, I don't think most people would even care. I'm pretty sure most people wouldn't even notice. So, in my opinion, these are kind of useless, but they do have some use to get to that rancid egg. So, I don't want to give it less than a 4, but I don't really feel great giving it anything higher than that. Alright, moving on. In this area, this is where a lot of people will probably recognize this place because, well, over here, over in this direction is the City of Tears, but also in this location is right underneath Xero boss fight. And something that I actually didn't realize for literal years is that there's a soul totem here. I didn't know that. There's a breakable wall right here. I actually had no clue until I saw someone do it, and I was like, I have learned today. But in my opinion, these two platforms are the main platforms here. And they're actually pretty good. For the average person, the casual player, this platform here is nothing too important, but it's nothing too bad either. This is a pretty nice platform. I'll say that this one is a pure 5, pure right in the middle, but this platform is actually special. It might not seem like it's a whole lot, but it actually does serve a good amount of purpose. Once you get the Grimchild, I believe this is after the first 3 flames, there actually will be another flame on this platform. And so because of that, this actually serves a very bigger purpose. And oops, I did not know what I just clicked on accident. Cancel. But yeah, this platform is pretty good. In fact, actually, I'm willing to give it a 6.5 because it does have that platform, that flame Grimchild. It's also just genuinely a pretty nice platform too. You can dash, fall a little bit, pogo off this thing to dash again, and you have some nice synergies with it. The reason why I'm not giving it any higher than a 6.5 is because if you're coming from this direction, this platform is nothing very special. It's just kind of there for lack of better reason. And it's not even the first platform you can get on. You have to go on this one unless you already have double jump. So in respect of that, I think it's fair as a 6.5. Something that is really cool though, I believe there's no platforms over here, but we do have a very nice platform right above us. And this is actually a very important platform because, well, it's Xero's platform. This giant arena is actually home to this Spirit Warrior Xero. And Xero is, albeit kind of an interesting boss because he is one of the very few bosses where if you just stand there, he is one of the few bosses that will just outright miss. He is not able to hit the player, the knight, if you just stand there. There's a chance for that. Now, it's not very often, but I did mention it in one of my shorts of unusual Hollow Knight things. Or Hollow Knight oddities. But even in that short, I got hit a couple times and kind of tell. But just kind of looking at it, it's a nice arena. It's very wide. It does allow Xero to move around pretty nicely. And technically, even though you can't access it, there is a transition from here. It's just that you can't go up it. You actually have to go down it. And this is from the Crystal Peaks. This is actually a pretty nice platform. It might be one of my favorite platforms in this entire area. I'm going to be willing to bet that this platform deserves 8.5. I don't want to give it a 9. Oh, as I draw a 9. I don't want to give this a 9 simply because there's not much more to this. It's like, if there was more stuff to this, yeah, it would be great. But there's not a whole lot, and that's really the best that I can give it. If it had more things besides Xero and it being a pretty cool platform, yeah. So, I think it's okay, but eh. Anyways, moving on, you're actually greeted by this location. And if you play this game, this location you should remember, because this is the dream sequence to get Dreamdale. Now, unfortunately, because I want to do this area first, the Spirit's Glade and the actual sequence to get the Dreamdale I'll do last. So, we'll just take a look at it. For the time being, though, we are going to be moving on to this area. This is I suppose, the main hub of the resting ground. And it's in this area where most of our things can be found. So, this is the rest of, the resting grounds. And I'll be completely honest, it's kind of boring. Because you have this one unique platform, go from here to go up. But outside of that, it's just a bunch of series of the same platforms. And they don't really serve a whole lot of purpose. So unfortunately, this platform here has to get a 5 because it doesn't really serve any purpose other than going up. And all of these platforms don't really serve much purpose either. I'm actually willing to say that all of these platforms will get a 4.5 at best. And that's what I'm going to say. This is my objective opinion, both as a speedrunner and as a casual. These platforms are just okay. They don't really serve a whole lot of purpose, so I don't want to put them as the average. But, they're nice, I guess. I will give this one, the one with the, I forgot what it's called, the tree root, the dream root, essence root. I want to give it a 5.5 simply because it does have that one. And if you want to try to 100% the game by getting every single root essence, then yeah, this is going to be required. And there is a speedrun. It's a very niche speedrun, granted, but there is a speedrun called, I think, Tree Percent, where the goal is to dream nail every single tree in the game, collect all their essence so that it does bloom into the tree. And to that I say that's kind of a dumb speedrun, but it is kind of cool at the same time. So it's okay. I'll just give it a 5.5. To our left, this is Dream Shield. There's nothing here. No platforms, nothing of interest outside of that. Right above us is Seer. I guess Seer is a point of interest, but kind of not. But it's to the right of us where things become very interesting. Because to the right of us, we have the Spirit's Glade. I believe you can only unlock the Spirit's Glade once you have 200 or 300 essence. And you go talk to Seer, and she'll open up the door, allowing you to access this place. And in this place is home to all of the spirits. A lot of these are backers. A lot of these are created by, you know, people who wanted Hollow Knight to be a game. And so you have like people like this one, this guy, people. I like this guy. This guy looks really cool. Some other people, but essentially all of these spirits are guarded by a warrior named Revik. And in one of my speedruns, or not my speed, but there is a speedrun called Grim Reaper, or not Grim Reaper. I don't know what it's called. I think it's called Graveyard Percent or something like that. But some speedrun where the goal is to dream nail every single spirit in the game. And it's an interesting speedrun. I decided to theme mine after Mori Calliope, because, you know, she is Grim Reaper. And so I had to do this one, and it's pretty fun. Revik is a hard enemy. Like, I'm not going to even deny that. Revik is difficult. However, not impossible. And so this is where things can get interesting, because with Revik, yeah, he does 2 masks of damage, but there is a very, very easy way to kind of over cheese this, I suppose. When you start dream nailing these guys, he'll start attacking you. One of the ways you can actually dodge him or really parry him in very easy succession is to jump right before he dashes towards you. And as you fall, you want to do an up slash. As you fall and do an up slash, Revik aims where you are currently, not where you are going. And so as such, if you jump, I guess let's use a little bit of arcs. As you jump up and down, he's going to aim right here at this spot. But you, as the player, who's currently falling, should be right about here, kind of safe from that path. So even if you don't parry, you should relatively be safe. And when you actually try to parry, as long as you time it right, that big triangle that I just drew, this will be the overlap of your nail hitbox and his hitbox, allowing you to parry him. And yeah, granted, there's only like, what, a 3-frame window roughly? It's not that bad. And once you time it a little bit, you can probably consistently get this parry, even after only like, what, 30 seconds of practice. It's probably not that hard. But enough, you know, talking about Revik and the spirits. Let's get back to what we really want to talk about. Platforms. There's not many, I'm not gonna lie. And unfortunately, a lot of these are connected to each other. So really, we only have like 3 platforms here. We have this small one right here. We have this main one that holds 2 spirits. And then we have this big one at the top. We can't count this one because there are multiple surfaces. There's one here, one there, and the main one at the top. So unfortunately, I can't consider this an individual floating platform. But the other ones we can, and so we're going to go ahead and rank those as well. The first one is actually kind of interesting. I want to give this one a 5.5, not necessarily because it's more than the average, but because it does allow you to see and have access to the next layer. Obviously, without this, you couldn't get up there without double jump, but also with this little platform, you'll notice, wow, the waterfall here. This is not just some area with some spirits. There's a lot more going on here than what seems to meet the eye. And so this platform is a good way to do that. And this platform up here, they're cool. I don't want to be disrespectful to the backers, but in my opinion, this platform probably will just get a 4. Actually, not even a 4. I think a 3.5 is more reasonable, because let's be real. Unless you are here to banish all the spirits, you're not coming in this area, like, at all. You might come here, like, 3-4 times max. And for speedrunners, we don't even go into this area unless you're doing that speedrun. Or 3%. And as a result, this whole area is kind of lackluster. You don't visit this area, like, at all. So really, 3.5 I think is worth it. I don't want to be disrespectful to the backers, obviously. But I can't really justify giving it anything higher. You see this place like twice. I'm sorry. The same will have to go with this large platform. I'll give it, just because it has, more characters, and I'll be honest, I really like this moth. I think this moth is really cool. I'll give this one a 3.75. Just because I can. It's big, it has a lot of spirits, I like the spirits on it, but it suffers from the same thing. You're never seeing this place more than like a couple of times. And that's really all that there is in this area. And you might consider, oh, what about this area? In case you didn't know, there's this platform which I believe holds a Hollowness seal, but there's also a hidden platform right here, which allows you to dream nail this guy. And it actually takes you to the official backers list. However, before we get to that part, let's quickly take a look at beneath. Because underneath all the resting grounds is a small, dark area where more things can be found. The only way to access this area is using the Desolate Dive, or Descending Dark, upon this platform, to which you'll fall all the way down here. And it's a very stark difference from what's up here. It's very mystical, it's very calming. But the moment you get down here, it's suddenly dark and scary, and there's a lot of hidden paths everywhere. As such, there is a breakable wall here. There are bellflies all over the place. There are these, I don't remember what they're called, but there's some kind of husk that also deal 2 masks of damage. So immediately you're presented with danger. I think, right? There should be 1? No, there's not even 1? I thought there was 1. Maybe I was counting this one. Well, I suppose that's a little sad. Because, Zamir lives in this little hut, and that's the infamous flower quest. But if there's no floating platforms, there's no reason for us to really observe this place, I suppose. Even for speedrunners, we're only here for the grub, Soul Eater, and for Zamir. That's really the only reason why we're here. So, as scary as this place is, there's no floating platforms, therefore there's nothing for me to look at here. And that is all of resting grounds. Or at the very least, that's all of what's visible on the resting ground. We have, I don't know if you've noticed, but we have up here 2 more tabs. One of these is way more important than the other. I'll get to that one last. But for the time being, if you remember, the Spirit's Glade holds a secret right here. If you were to dream nail this moth, you get transported to this location. And this location is special because it's actually the list of all the backers. It does have you have a small little platforming sequence, and then there's a big moth out here that talks about and references the real world, and then you enter into here. I'll be completely honest, this place is kind of whatever. Visit this place once. Like, if you ever come back here more than once, you are a lore hunter. That's all I can say. So really, this whole area probably will get a 5. It's a secret. It's a cool secret. I'll give this platform a 5.1, just because it's cool, and it has the moth. It references the real world. I like it. But really, there's not much else to it. It's just a secret place. So all these platforms get a 5. This one gets a 5.1. And all of these ones, these are all the names of the backers. You can actually interact with each and every little pedestal thing, spike. I don't know what to call these things. But you can interact with each and every one of them, and they list off a couple of backers. And again, I'm not trying to, minimize the backers. I'm very thankful that they existed so that this game could exist. However, it's not a very intriguing area. All of this area probably will earn a 4.5 at best. The only reason why I'm giving it a 4.5 as opposed to a 5 is because there's no real challenge of any sorts here. At least in the, opening sequence with these platforms. there is some kind of challenge. You have to actually get there without falling. But in this case, if you fall somehow to anywhere of these little pits of whatever, that's a you problem. I have nothing else to say. That's a you fault. So I think all these are worth a 4.5. Thank you, backers. I'm sorry I can't give you a higher grade, but this is just kind of how it has to be. And now for everyone's most important location of the resting ground, and possibly one of the most important areas of the entire game, because this is the area that allows you to beat the game. The Dream Nail sequence. I am using a slightly different layout, and unfortunately there is no map online that I could find, so I had to go in and actually take screenshots of this place, and I tried my best to kind of line it up how it actually is in-game. But again, it's very, very long, so I did have to split it up into 2 different sections. So immediately, we will start on this platform. This platform right here. And you will make your way across, all the way across, and then from here, I suppose, you'll end up over here, and then continue on until you actually make it to the... Now, here's the thing. There's more than one platform that you might be thinking is a normal platform, and I'll go over why, I'll explain what's going on, but here's what's going to happen. On the first platform that you wake up on, it's a nice platform. It immediately tells you there's more than meets the eye in this world, and so I think that's really great. In fact, I'm actually willing to say that this platform here gets a 7.5. It introduces you to the world of, the spirits, the dream realm, and that's actually very good. And these first couple of platforms, it immediately tells you this is when you need to get good. If you thought Mantis Village was difficult or the City of Tears was difficult, this place is even worse. Because if you fall, you spawn back at the nearest checkpoint. And as far as I'm aware, the checkpoints are all these larger platforms, like this one here, so on and so forth. So if you fall at any point in between these locations, you spawn to the nearest platform that you've been to. And it makes it pretty hard. So really, from a casual perspective, this place is kind of brutal. But from a speedrunner's perspective, it's still pretty brutal. Like, I'm not gonna lie on that one. But for its intentional difficulty, it's not meant to be an easy place. I think that deserves a higher score. So, at the very least, for these first couple of platforms, I think these are all worth a 7, simply because it is here to introduce to you who need to get good at platforming. Moving along, I actually do want to consider this one as its own individual platform, even if it's connected to the bottom. Technically, this does not qualify as a floating platform because it does void out. And because of that, I don't want to rate it, but I'll give my theoretical rating. So I'll put like a little asterisk. This is where the game teaches you that, be nice. That tiny little blue square right here, that's your respawn point. And that teaches you you're going to be coming back here for a while if you don't know the route. So I'll say this platform here is probably worthy of a 7.5 asterisk because it's not actually a platform. But it's nice because it teaches the casuals about respawns. And it's pretty good. Moving along, I'm only going to give some of these ones specific ratings. For the most part, at this point, casuals will know I need to get good. Speedrunners know I know the route. I ignore some of these ones and some of them I use. So I'm only going to give them like a 5 from here on out, unless there's a specific platform that I want to talk about. So for the most part, 5. Some of them that are out of the way, I'm actually going to give it a 4.5 because it's more of a hindrance to go there. Because like something like this one. Where are you going on this platform? There's no other platform to go to other than back up here and up there. So I don't know. I don't really like that platform. Same thing with this other one. And same thing with this one down here. There's really no reason for these ones. If anything, it actually makes it more difficult because you have to climb back out. 5. So in this regard, there's not a whole lot, but that's just kind of how it is. I'll give this one a 6. Let me decide. 6 because this is our next safe platform. 6.5. Same thing with the next sequence. This is a 5. This one's a 5. I'm actually going to give this one 6 and this one a 6. The reason why is because you can actually dash from here to there. And this is one of the few parts in the speedrun route of the Dreamnail sequence that I actually know guaranteed for a fact. Everything else is just kind of dash, move, I hope I don't fall. This is the only one that I know for a fact and 100% consistent. So I like this one. This one, 5. And then you go to the next portion of platforms. These are also just 5s. They don't really serve a whole lot. This larger platform, this one that's currently cropped off a little bit, this is the same platform. So it's not like there's two different platforms going on here. These are the same platform. I just kind of ran out of space. But here's what's going to happen. Because it does void out, I can't really give it my rating. I guess if I were to give it a rating, I'll just do like another asterisk. This one will probably... What did I give the other one? 7.5? This was probably a 6.5. Because this next sequence of platforms is probably the hardest. And not necessarily hardest in terms of like, oh, it's like complicated. You have to have really precise movements. That's true the whole time. It's only difficult because it's long. And you can tell this distance here all the way to there is way longer than any other distance so far. That's really about it. But kind of taking a look at this. Our first platforms, you know, these will probably just get 5s. They're pretty average, so on and so forth. Yeah, there's not really a whole lot to say. I couldn't get a screenshot of this platform right here. Just know that there is one here. I just kind of forgot about it. But yeah, all of these ones just get a 5 because, you know, it's annoying. It's pretty difficult. Except for this one. This one is arguably the most important platform in the entire game. Now, before I actually want to give this my rating, there is one more platform that you may not realize exists. This platform is actually important. Not to casuals, but to speedrunners. It's this part right here. And you might be thinking, oh, but look at that, it has, you know, multiple walkable surfaces. Technically, yes. Technically, no. And the reason why I'm saying technically so many times is because there are multiple things going on here. You can't stand on all pieces of this platform. And yes, because there are multiple surfaces, I'm not going to give it an official rating. I'm going to give this one an asterisk rating as well. But for speedrunners, this is a very, very important platform. Because you can crystal dash off the top of this one, go straight across. It's cropped off here, but you'll go straight across and you'll end up basically onto this platform right here. So yeah, it's cropped off. It does raise up a little bit, but you'll go straight like over here. And it's really good. It's really convenient. So asterisk rating for speedrunners who have crystal dash, because not all speedrunners will have crystal dash in their categories for this point. This is very good. I'll give this one an 8, but it's an unofficial rating. Let it be known, this is an unofficial rating. However, back to the most important thing. This platform in the Dreamnail sequence is probably the most important, let alone being the most important in the game. Get Dreamnail here. This is what allows you to essentially beat the game. Not necessarily like, oh, I get a weapon or some kind of ability that is so good that I can just one-shot every enemy. No. This is the Dreamnail. It allows you to finish the game. Let me put it that way. It allows you to access the Dreamers, which therefore opens the Temple of the Black Egg, which allows you to fight the Hollow Knight, which allows you to actually beat the game, allowing for any percent to be possible. Not to brag or anything, but currently I think I'm like 167th place on the leaderboards for any percent. I'm very satisfied with that. But all those speedruns, all the any percent speedruns, the hundreds out there, would not be possible without this platform. Beating the game itself would not be possible without this platform. This platform is probably objectively the game's only 10 out of 10 platform. Objectively. I know I did give a 10 out of 10 platform before, but that's a more like, you know, accomplishment thing. This is a necessary platform. Without this platform, you cannot progress. So this platform is probably the game's most important platform, And it's probably the most necessary platform in the entire game. So this one, very easily for me, is a 10. Whether you're a casual or a speedrunner, this deserves a 10. And that is essentially the Dreamnail sequence. All of them are fairly simple. They're all just average platforms. But there is a very, very important platform here. And just like in the other areas of Resting Grounds, this place is not necessarily boring per se, but it's not necessarily special either. You have a very special area, but the area itself is within another area. The whole entirety of the Resting Grounds is somewhat lackluster, to say the least. So really, there's not a whole lot going on, but it is a nice area nonetheless. And with that being said, that is every single floating platform in the Resting Ground. I am still going to be planning on finishing this series before Silksong comes out, and at this rate, I don't know when Silksong is coming out. All I know is that hopefully it'll come out sometime this year of 2025, but until then, I can only hope and pray. That being said, this has been all of the platforms, individual floating platforms in Resting Grounds Ranked. If you did like it, cool. If you didn't like it, that's okay. I understand. But if you did like it, maybe consider subscribing. I do a lot of these. I have an entire playlist. And yes, I'll be going over every single platform. Anyways, I have been Facade. I hope you have a good rest of your day or your night, depending on your availability. I hope you have a good... I already said my outro. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.